Let's do For Those in Peril. It's one of those weeks in which suddenly you see an actor turning up time and time again. In this case, George Mackay, who is in no less than 3 different films this week. He's in Sunshine on Leith, he's in How I Live Now, and he's also in For Those in Peril, which is this story about a village in which there has been a terrible fishing accident. Everyone has been lost, with the exception of one young man who was out on the ship with his brother. He has no memory of how the accident happened, and coming back to his village, he is haunted firstly by the stories told to him by his mother, which are fables of the sea, of a great big sea monster which swallows children into its dirty belly, and also by the ostracization of the community, who somehow feel that he is in some way to blame or cursed for the accident. Here's a clip.
You remember John, eh? He was out in the boat with you and your brother. You remember John, right?
Yeah.
Aye, well. John was my son. I thought you'd come here to talk to me about John. Ask how me and his mother were doing. But no. Funny thing. I remember him saying to me, he didn't think you were right for the boat. Said having someone like you out there was dangerous. Why do you think he'd say that, eh?
It's a very powerful piece of work. It's very haunting and elegiac, very well played, shifting visual formats. It's one of those stories that holds, on the one hand, this kind of fabulous fairy tale, dark, grim fairy tale in the background, but it also has the smack of reality. It mixes footage which looks like faux archival footage with news reportage. It inhabits that very strange hinterland between what appears to be fact and fiction, between fantasy and reality, between waking and dreaming, and all the way through it, there is this sense of the central character who's tormented by this awful thing that has happened, being led back to the sea, being led back to this fairy tale that he was told by his mother. There's a wonderful performance by Kate Dickie, who is always extraordinary, who again actually turns up in Filth and is a very, very fine actress. And I found it very haunting, very affecting, very moving. It has a kind of montage-like visual structure. At times, the storytelling is sort of fairly straightforward, but other times it goes off into these kind of fabulous flights of fantasy whilst always keeping its feet on the ground. It's not a film that can be best described in terms of plot, but more in terms of atmosphere. It is something like a waking dream. It's very sort of pregnant with loss and anxiety, and it manages, in my opinion, to do that most difficult of things, which is to move from the real world into the imagined world and back again in a way which appears to be seamless. I think it's a very fine feature debut for Paul Wright. Terrific central performances, as I said. Michael Smiley's in there as well, and I mean, he never fails to impress. And a few weeks after having seen it the first time, I'm still thinking about it. I thought it was a very good piece of work.